Okay, good morning, my dear students. So in this module, we will talk about the mathematics of graphs. So when I say graphs, I'm not referring to bar graphs or line graphs. It's a different graph that I'm talking about. Let's find that out, what I mean by that. So the first part, equivalent graphs. So in this one, we will determine if two graphs are equivalent. But before that, let's have some discussion about important concepts on this module. So this is an example of a graph that I am referring to. So you can see here that there are dots which represent cities. So you have a dot for San Francisco, Chicago, in New York, and so on. And then you can see that there are lines connecting the dots. That represents na mayroong ruta sa pagitan ng San Francisco or Atlanta, for example. And then there's another route connecting San Francisco and Chicago, and so on. Note that the length doesn't matter. Okay? It doesn't suggest na mas malayo yung route between San Francisco and Atlanta. It's not accurate like that. What we mean to say is, or what we want to represent is just that may ruta sa pagitan ng Chicago and San Francisco. The dots are connected that way. So looking at this graph, you can understand ano yung mga possible routes na pwede mong tahakin or sakyan, di ba? When you want to go from cities to cities. So this is an example of a graph. You have a set of points. These dots are actually, we will call them vertices. And the line segments connecting them, we will call them edges. Sometimes you will see curves instead of line segments, but that's still an edge because it's connecting the two dots or the two vertices. So you can use dots in a different way as well. Kanina, we were showing how the cities are connected through the routes. But here, on the first one, letter A, ginamit yung graph para i-represent yung mga different teams. I think this is baseball. Different baseball teams, you can see that on the dots. And then, kapag may connection yung dalawa, ibig sabihin they played each other, naglaban sila. Okay? So that means Cardinals had two matches, which is with Braves and Giants. White Sox had the most number of, I think. Braves has the most number of matches, a total of 4. With Cardinals, Mets, Yankees, and White Sox. White Sox only had 3. On letter B, ginamit naman to para ipakita yung mga computers na nasa isang office, maybe a department rather, and to show which computers are connected with each other. So you can see that all of them is the secretary is not connected to the server. Okay, but most of them are connected to the server. On the third one, the vertices represents the students, and then if they are connected through an edge, that means that they have a class together. So James has a class with Jared, with Heather, and with Lisa, and so on. So you can somewhat imagine how we can use graphs. So right here, let's go for some terminologies. Dito makita mo yung dots or the vertices are not connected with edges or using edges. There are no edges right here. So we call them null graph. Okay. It's also a disconnected graph. This graph has a multiple edge, although it is connected because all the dots are connected through the edges. Right here, you have multiple edges. Kasi, let's say this is A and vertex A and vertex B. Both of them are sharing two edges, diba? So that graph has a multiple edge. Now, this graph is not connected. If you put lines right there, now that will be connected because you can see that there are two different sections, diba? And then it also contains a loop right here. Loop, isa siyang edge na yung starting and ending position ay on the same vertex. So, diba? Enters and leaves here. Okay, now this one is a complete graph. You can see all the vertices are connected in all possible way. What I mean is this vertex is connected to all the other vertices, and that's the same for each one of them. This one is connected to B, to A, to D, and to C. So this is a complete graph, and you don't have any multiple vertices, or edges rather. Now, how do we know if two graphs are equivalent? So right here, sabi dito, yung tatlong graphs na to ay equivalent. In what way? Because they form the same connection of vertices. Look at this. Vertex B is connected to A, to C, to D, and E. That's the same on the second one. B is connected to C, to A, to D, and to E. Even if you have curves instead of edges, or straight lines rather, they are also called edges. Still connected with A, C, D, and E. Okay? Are these equivalent graphs? So let's take a look at the first one first. So it's connected with B, A, D, and C. Is C connected to D, A, B, and C? That's correct. B should be connected with E and D. E and D. A should be connected with E and C. E and C. D should be connected with E and B. C with E and C. E and A. Okay. So those are definitely equivalent graphs. Now, how about this one? Are these equivalent graphs? Okay. Right from the get-go, pinagbaliktad niya kasi yung ano, di ba? D and B. So that means, although here, ang D ay connected sa A and B, dito, connected siya sa C, B, and E. So definitely, they don't have the same connections between vertices. So though, they are not equivalent graphs. Are these equivalent graphs? So B is connected with D and A and C. B is connected with A, D, and C. So let's check. C is connected with B and D. B and D. A is connected with D and B. Here is the connection between A and D, and then B, and finally B is connected to all of them. So let me arrange that. Let me erase the C. Yes, it's connected to all of them. So yes, those are equivalent graphs.